welcome to Insurance Business TV. We're at the National Insurance Brokers Association convention on the Gold Coast, where we're joined by Angie Zissis, Chief Underwriting Officer at SURA, to talk about Austagencies and also get his thoughts on insurance industry trends and challenges. Welcome to Insurance Business TV, Angie.
Thanks very much, Danny. Thanks for having me, and good to meet you and have you here. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to have you on. Agencies have historically succeeded in the market by being fast-moving, innovative, and entrepreneurial. How does this apply to Austagencies?
Okay, so Austagencies is our holding company of our agencies businesses, where we have a number of underwriting agencies sitting under the banner. So across the various brands, there's 360 Underwriting Solutions, which sits in our commercial insurance sector. Our SURA brands are more specialised in niche underwriting agencies. And then there's our three Strata agencies, Strata Unit Underwriters, Longitude and Rubik's. In terms of fast-moving innovation, I suppose we've come from a place of 8 years ago having a handful of agencies to now having something like 37 agencies across Australia and New Zealand, across those three brands, across the Strata, SURA and 360 brands. Always looking for ways to do something different. We often get approached by underwriters wanting to leave the corporate world where it's not as exciting for them potentially, and to come and set up underwriting agencies. So a number of startups in that time, things like 360 Cyber, startup, things like SURA Cyber, also a startup. SURA Construction was a startup. So there's where we see a broker need and a client need for new product or additional product offering, we try to fill the breach as best we can. In recent times, acquisitions continue wherever we can find a reasonable acquisition, and you might have seen recently the 360 announced acquisition of crop risk underwriting. So that will complement our farm offering in 360, whereas previously the farm offering sort of sat around the farm itself without the crop. Now having crop risk underwriting in the stable allows us to actually insure the farmer's crop as well. In our technology risks area, we've recently introduced a life sciences product, and more recently a med tech product for firms, that's technology firms in the medical sector. We're also introduced SURA Cyber, like I said. So wherever we see the opportunity in terms of ongoing building out new products, seeing a need in the market, and then also from a position of establishing greater capacity. So we have offerings where in our SURA construction business, for example, we can write much larger infrastructure products now or projects now. So we've gone from a position where we could do $35 million projects to now do $85 million projects. So wherever we see a need for the opportunity to move forward, we try to grab it and move forward that way.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the soft market conditions in Australia right now, and how does that impact your growth aspirations?
Very good for clients and brokers as well, in terms of having opportunity to provide cheaper prices for their clients in some respects. But I think, Danny, it's fair to say the market's actually been softening over the last couple of years. So it's not just right now, and it hasn't just come upon us. If you look at financial lines, if you look at directors and officers, professional indemnity, that went up very quickly, but came off just as quickly. Property and casualty went up and sort of sustained an upward spiral, and they've started coming off gradually. So yes, conditions are softer, but I suppose from a client perspective, it's not all about price, and clients don't solely buy on price. So in our space, in our agency space, we always look to provide brokers with the right level of options, whether it's additional cover or if the client needs lesser cover, or increasing excesses or reducing excesses to sort of weigh that pricing model up. So it's not just about price, but yeah, it does play a reasonable factor in determining a client's insurance. Has been.
Yeah, where are you seeing opportunities for growth in this insurance market?
Yeah, look, I think again that there's opportunities in many sectors, developing sectors, as I said, in the technology risks area, where firms are looking for PI insurance. Certainly in the construction space, lots of infrastructure build, and even talking to some of the clients in the infrastructure space, their world is changing. I mean, they've got to think about AI, so we need to think about how we can help them move into that IA space as well from the insurance perspective. we're also, as I said, looking to see where we can bolster existing businesses with bringing in things like crop risk underwriting. So there's opportunity in many sectors to tap into.
What about from the broker perspective? What advice would you give to brokers who are operating in this softening market?
Yeah, look, it's a bit like I said earlier. It shouldn't always be about price. So the broker should always be mindful of their client need and understanding their client need to deliver the right outcome for their client. Because just taking the softer price, the cheaper price in a softening market sometimes means taking a different cover. So the broker then has to determine whether that different cover is the right outcome for their client. So in working with especially underwriting agencies to determine the best level of cover for the client and how that cover comes about, whether it be through a range of excesses, whether it be through a range of scaling something up or scaling something down. So, and I've always been a firm believer of the client, of the broker taking into account the client needs rather than delivering what they think is the client need.
Strata is a big area of business for a lot of brokers. Why did Austagencies create a third Strata agency, given that you've already got two in the group, I believe?
Interesting question. So the two large agencies in the group, Longitude and Strata Unit Underwriters, predominantly do residential strata with a little bit of commercial, not so much industrial, but the commercial sort of pretty vanilla sort of commercial offerings in the strata, an office in the strata building or a retail shop in the strata building. So we set up the third agency to cater for more the industrial and complex commercial risks, more high hazard, going to industrial areas, looking at manufacturing where the properties are strated, and some of the residential areas where cover's not easy to get because of their location far north Queensland, because of wind or storm issues. So looking at more complex risks, but predominantly in the industrial and commercial space versus the residential space.
Angie, thanks very much for your time.
No problem, Danny. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.